I hope you can hear me. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं तद्वैतं सवधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता विशाखावितांश्च। नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। पाञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां for understanding the Dana Yoga and the Karma Yoga. So the Dana Yoga is about understanding the analysis. And Karma Yoga, which we understand the devotional service or the practical application of devotional service of Krishna consciousness. And there's another president, another email. These are the most possible.
Not this one. Is that this one? Other one. This one, Prabhu?
We have. Yeah. So I hope the screen can be seen. So we were go back to the previous slide. This is also fine. Yeah. So there's these two paths which Arjuna is now confused about between Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. Jnana Yoga is about philosophical
No, I'm not able to
analysis.
see.
I'm not able to see.
I'm not able to
Can
see.
we-
a
not
slide.
able to see the slide.
And this should- can you see it now?
Now coming. Now coming. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so there's a chart up here about Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. So Jnana Yoga is about philosophical analysis and understanding philosophy theoretically and through deep study. And Karma Yoga is a practical application of devotional service and direct Krishna consciousness. This is what I've tried to show in this chart here. So Arjuna is confused about these two paths. Next. Oh, it's too big. Too big, too big. Bring it down. हाँ नहीं इसके बाद वाला हाँ ये यहाँ पर यहाँ बस थोड़ा ऊपर दे दो
You can upgrade.
remote turn on. So we have to recap this part. The resources. So in Bhagavad Gita 3.4, Krishna says that if you stop acting, that's not real renunciation. You cannot escape your material existence. And everybody is supposed to act by material nature. And the true renunciation is to work in Krishna consciousness with free from our false ego and without attachment to results. That's a recap of these verses. And that recap we can go towards 3.6, which we can decide. कर्मेन्द्रियाणि संयम यस्ते मनस स्मरम इंद्रियार्थम विनिधात्मा विद्याचरः स उच्यते. One who restrains the senses of action. One who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly reveals himself is called the pretender. Purport by his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Srila Prabhupada. There are many pretenders who refuse to work Krishna consciousness, but make a show of meditation, while actually dwelling within the mind upon sense enjoyment. Some pretenders may also compete on their philosophies in order to bluff sophisticated followers. But according to this verse, they are the greatest leaders. For sense enjoyment, one can act in any capacity of the social order. But if one follows the rules and regulations of a particular status, he can make gradual progress in verifying his existence. But he who makes the show of being a yogi while actually searching for the objects of sense gratification may be called the greatest cheater, even though he sometimes speaks of philosophy. His knowledge has no value because the effects of such a sinful man's knowledge are taken away by the illusory energy of the Lord. Such a pretender's mind is always impure, therefore his show of yogic meditation has no value whatsoever. So Let's try to understand this verse. Read the translation again. One who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. So, how do you understand this verse? Um, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 15th chapter, verse 22, Prabhupada provides an example of Shaubari Muni. Shaubari Muni was a yogi who was practicing austerities and yoga discipline, and he had restrained his senses through yoga. So what he did, he was living underwater, and in underwater he thought that I'll be escaped from every effect of all nature and every living entity and their effects, and I'll be completely insulated from the modes of material nature. But what happened was that underwater he happened to see fish engaging in sexual affairs, and his mind became agitated despite external sense control. So he fell from his position and he took on multiple wives. So from his position as a yogi, he had a fall down. So what do we understand from this is that artificially it's very difficult to restrain the senses. And for restraining the senses, there is another process recommended by Krishna. Srila Prabhupada explains this through three key points. The mind's and the forces, so the forceful disengagement, force versus actual engagement of the mind, and the root cause. So we have to understand that the mind is subtler than the senses. So it cannot be controlled by brute force. We have to engage it. And the engagement is in Krishna consciousness. And unless the mind is purified through Krishna consciousness, externally controlling the mind is of very limited value to lead to conflicts within us. That's what happened to Shaubari Muni. So we took the example of Shaubari Muni to understand the conflict in the mind and the fact that unless you address the root cause of the disease of the mind, then it is of limited value to restrain it forcibly. Um, we can also understand this by the help of a metaphor. Srila Prabhupada cites from Shastra, from Srimad Bhagavatam, of a snake with closed eyes. Now, what does it mean, a snake with closed eyes? Huh?
With the call which is coming repeatedly from sleep, so that's why it's not repeated.
Achha, okay. So, when Putana took up Sri Krishna on her lap, Krishna closed his eyes. And she did not know what was to come for her. He thought, okay, he's a very innocent child, and I will kill him. But what happened? Krishna acted very innocently, but he killed Putana. So in that verse, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that Krishna acted like a snake with closed eyes. So it's a different analogy. We cannot really compare Krishna with a snake, but just nevertheless, we should understand that a snake with closed eyes is very dangerous. What does that mean? A man whose senses are externally controlled, but his mind is contaminated, is like a man with it's like a snake with closed eyes. His material desire or his poison inside him remains despite his external show of renunciation. So a man who is externally renounced, internally contaminated, is like a snake with closed eyes. Extremely dangerous. So now we have understood that from two examples of Shaubari Muni and the metaphor of the snake with closed eyes, that false renunciation is extremely dangerous. Now we have the example of the Goswamis of Vrindavan who practically applied this. So the Goswamis of Vrindavan were two renunciates. They are our acharyas, our exemplary examples to follow. And if we follow in their footsteps, then we come to the the idea about the true renunciation or the true Krishna consciousness. So they lived in simple conditions, but were always absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And their sense control was natural due to their developing a higher trace. Right? So we need to follow in the footsteps of the Goswamis. To become true renunciates that means to develop true engagement in Krishna consciousness. So how do we do that? We need to engage our senses in devotional service. And that we cultivate remembrance of Krishna. Through this remembrance, we can get genuine detachment from material life. We can get genuine detachment from material life and positive engagement in service. And under practical guidance, then we can progress in our devotional service. Right? So this verse warns against artificial renunciation and emphasizes that we engage ourselves genuinely in devotional service and under proper guidance, and this way our senses can get controlled. So in this way, we avoid the false renunciation, the forceful disengagement of the senses is not possible, and we need to engage it in Krishna service. And that also has to be done under proper guidance of the sadhu and shastra and Vaishnavas. Once we do that, then we can make progress in devotional service. Oh, that's up to me. Okay. Forget it. It's okay. I'll just okay. Let's move on to the next verse, which is 3.7. Yasva indriyani manasa niyama niyamyar Arjuna indriya karma yogam ashakta visheshati Yasva indriyani manasa niyamarahate Arjuna karmandriya karma yogam ashakta vishishyate.
Yes. Yes, yes.
3.7 has a slide. It's meant to be clicked on. Hold on. Before that. Yeah. Yeah. That was slide. Reading the translation by and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. Instead of becoming a pseudo-transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living and sense enjoyment, it is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose of life, which is to get free from material bondage and enter into the kingdom of God. The prime Swartha Gati or goal of self-interest is to reach Vishnu. The whole institution of Varna and Ashram is designed to help us reach this goal of life. A householder can also reach this destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. For self-realization, one can live regulated life as prescribed in the Shastra, can continue carrying out his business without attachment, and in that way make progress. Sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than the false pretender who adopts show bottle spiritualism to cheat the innocent public. Sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. Reading the translation again. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. So let's try to understand this verse by analyzing it. This verse is talking about controlling the active senses by the mind and being Krishna conscious without attachment. So from the Shastra, we have the story of Ambarish Maharaj, who is a perfect example of controlling his senses through Krishna consciousness. That's fine. So he focused his mind on the lotus feet. He engaged all his senses in devotional service. Ambarish Maharaj. He focused his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. His words in describing Krishna's qualities, his hands in cleaning the temple, his ears in hearing Krishna Katha, his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, his body is going down to Krishna, his nose in smelling flowers offered to Krishna, his tongue in tasting prasadam, in legs in walking to holy places, and head in offering obeisances. In this way, Ambarish Maharaj completely controlled his senses by engaging them directly in Krishna consciousness. So, how do we understand this? So that we understand that the mind needs active service, and a mind cannot remain vacant. If you have a vacant mind and you think that I'm being Krishna conscious, you may think like that, but then you have all these senses which are unrestrained, uncontrolled. So we need to engage each and every of our senses in Krishna consciousness. So that all the senses, mind, intelligence, everything needs to be positively engaged in Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna consciousness is a positive alternative. It is not a vacuum. This is what we understand from the example of Ambarish Maharaj. What is the process? We practice devotional service and we get a higher taste. And once we have a higher taste, then we gradually lose lower pleasures. Lower pleasures are completely driven by the modes of material nature. Krishna consciousness acts against it. No, what do we say? We understand this from the metaphor of a tortoise. How does this act? The metaphor of the tortoise is again from the Bhagavad Gita, Part 5.8, and it is given in by Prabhupada that a tortoise, it naturally withdraws its limbs. We are talking about withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. So what does a tortoise do? It withdraws its limbs inside its body by its natural instinct. It's not forced. Right now, somebody may think that I can also, like a dog, also may withdraw its link in its body, but that is not natural for it. It won't go inside the body. It's not natural, right? So one who is able to withdraw, what is the verse? It's Bhagavad Gita 2.58. Yada saharate chayam kurmokani vasarvashaha indriyani indriyatebhya tasya pragya pratishtita. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws his limbs from the shell, is firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. So, similarly, a devotee, he withdraws his senses from material enjoyment due to the higher taste of Krishna consciousness. Such a devotee is fixed in perfect consciousness. So, how do we understand that this is actually possible? So, again, we understand from Shastra, this is demonstrated by the 6 Goswamis. What did they do? They were following the 4 regulative principles, and they maintained a fixed sadhana schedule. And they had an active service and engagement. What were they doing? They were writing books, establishing temples, preaching Krishna consciousness, and discovering holy places. And all of this was the six Goswamis in Vrindavan. So we have to follow in their footsteps. Not all of us can write books, establish temples, or discover holy places. But surely we can talk Krishna Katha to our near and dear ones and engage everybody in and around our vicinity in Krishna consciousness. So in this, so the essence is that following in the footsteps of six Goswamis, we must preach Krishna consciousness, and in that way, our senses will get control. So how do we do that? Well, there's daily activities of rising early, doing Mangal Aarti, jap, needy worship as possible. That's the morning program. Then engaging the senses in service, associating with devotees, studying the Bhagavad Gita and other Shastras, and ordering prasadam. Like Prabhuji has already arranged some prasadam, the juice. So please offer it in your mind. Okay, so what is the conclusion? The conclusion of this verse is that active devotional service is superior to visual renunciation. And the control of the senses comes naturally through positive engagement in Krishna consciousness. It's a natural process. Our senses will definitely get engaged and controlled by the active process of Krishna consciousness. No matter how hard we try to artificially restrain them, the modes of material nature are too strong. They will get engaged there. That's bound to happen. If you are Krishna conscious, definitely they'll be engaged and they'll be controlled. That's the take home. So that's on this. The screen is a summary of what we discussed, basically an essential summary of it. And there's a graphic after that, which is also a summary. So the true renunciation is working in Krishna consciousness, free from false ego, which will lead to liberation from material bondage. The liberation is from material bondage. The devotee is not interested in liberation. The devotee is interested only in bhakti, but the liberation is from material bondage. Now, the false renunciate, the bhogi or the false yogi, he may cease to work. He may indulge in multiple speculation. He may do all that all his life, lifetime after lifetime, billions of lifetime, but he will be just engaged only in material energy, and that will be the lead of that will lead to his bondage. He will never be liberated from material bondage. This is what this graphic is showing. This is an essence of the verse 3.7. Okay. Okay, now let's go on to the next verse, which is Bhagavad Gita 3.8. Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jayato hyaka. No, I got it wrong. Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jayo hi akarma naha shaira yatrapi cha te na prasadideda karmanah. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Srila Prabhupada. Perform your prescribed duties. For doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without working, without work. Purport. Let me read the translation again. Perform your prescribed duties. For doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. There are many pseudo meditators who misrepresent themselves as belonging to high parentage, and great professional men who falsely pose that they have sacrificed everything for the sake of advancement in spiritual life. Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender. Rather, the Lord desired that Arjuna perform his prescribed duties as set forth for Kshatriyas. Arjuna was a householder and a military general, and therefore it was better for him to remain as such and perform his religious duties as prescribed for the householder Kshatriya. Such activities gradually cleanse the heart of a mundane man and free him from material contamination. So-called renunciation for the purpose of maintenance is never approved by the Lord, nor by any religious scripture. After all, one has to maintain one's body and soul by some work. Work should not be given up capriciously without purification of materialistic propensities. Work should not be given up capriciously without purification of materialistic propensities. Anyone who is in the material world is certainly possessed of the impure propensity for lording it over material nature, or in other words, for sense gratification. Such polluted propensities have to be cleared. Without doing so, through prescribed duties, one should never attempt to become a so-called transcendentalist. It is renouncing work and living at the cost of others. I'll read the translation again. Perform your prescribed duties. For doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. So Krishna is here advocating that falsely giving up our position in life according to our varnashram and adopting renunciation, false renunciation, is not according to dharma. So the work we do is as per our varnashram. Varna and ashram are separate. Now one may understand that in today the varnashram system is not existing in a pure way and is corrupt. So how do we understand our duty? Even though the varnashram system does not exist in a pure form as it used to, we still have our nature, our duties to perform. So we have to understand what that nature is and act according to that in terms of our material duties. Why is work required? Work is required for, say, maybe three different categories of work. What is the actual occupational duty is Krishna consciousness, but we have a duty towards our body to take care of the body. We have a duty to take care of our prescribed duties for the society. Body includes us and our bodily attachments like family. Society, more than that, all the society we live in. And above that, our duty, primary duty is for Krishna consciousness, for being Krishna conscious. So these three duties is what Krishna is saying we need to focus on and not indulge in false renunciation. So how do we understand this? Who is a perfect example who acted completely as per Shastra? He acted righteously and he did his duties perfectly. So from Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the example of King Janak. King Janak was the father of Ramchandra ji. And, oh, sorry. I'm really sorry. Yeah. Sorry. That father for Ramchandra ji is Dashrath Maharaj. Janak is father-in-law of Ramchandra ji, father for Mother Sita. And as you can see, he acted very selflessly. He had no inheritor, but he ruled his kingdom perfectly. He maintained complete detachment and he did all his duties as a service to the Lord. And he attained liberation while performing duties. He was liberated from the body. It's called Vidheya. Liberated while in the body. So this is an example. So this is possible. So aspire to be such exemplary karma yogis that we act like Maharaj Janak, following in his footsteps. Right? So, but why do we need to work? Why do we need to work anyway? We can aspire to be like Maharaj Janak, but why do we need to work? Anybody can tell?
First level is to maintain the body.
Okay.
Once the body is maintained, maybe then we can go for the next purpose. The purpose will be the body is created. So.
True enough. The body needs maintenance, so we need to work. Because without work, it cannot even exist. So that's true. And the society around you needs a contribution from you because you have got from society. You need to give back something to society. The very nature around us demands an activity because if you don't act, then you will degrade yourself. Right. So Arjuna told Krishna that I will maintain myself by begging. then also he would have been able to maintain himself, no? But then society needs contribution from him, no? He is a Kshatriya. So if he maintains his body without contribution, that's also not proper.
Maintain also according to
How
your
to-
nature.
To your nature, to your higher purpose in life, because we have been born for certain purpose. We need to fulfill that purpose. Krishna has put us in this material world for learning something. Or let's put it this way: we have taken this birth to as per our karma, but once we come to devotional service, we come under directly Krishna. So Krishna has put us in some situation which we need to overcome. We need to fulfill that purpose in life. If we don't fulfill that purpose in life, then that will lead to us degradation only. I can say I'm now becoming Krishna conscious. I will not do my work or my duty as per my varnashram. I will simply chant. I will just leave. And by doing that, I will not incur any sin because I am being Krishna conscious. But that is not Krishna's desire. Because actually, if you do that, that will be a false renunciation. If somebody is actually able to do that, if somebody is so absorbed in Krishna consciousness that he is not able to do his material duties, even though he wants to, in that sense, Krishna will then take over his material duties and do it for him. And that we see in many instances, the great devotees. There is a devotee named Narsi Bhagat, he's famous all over Gujarat, and he was completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And it so happened that his children, I can't remember his son or daughter, was to be married. And his wife was after him, you go and fix it, you make the arrangements. So he went to make some arrangement and he completely got absorbed in Krishna consciousness and he forgot everything about it. And when he came back to his senses, external senses, he comes back in and everything is already done by Krishna. Narsi Bhagat form has been taken by Krishna and Krishna has performed all the activities. And they say that time there was a rain of snow bricks in that region and so much opulence that was demonstrated by Krishna in this marriage. And even today, when the earthquake was there in Saurashtra region, in Bhuj, they say that people had hidden these bricks in their house and they were found. These gold bricks. So you can see so much opulence. So Krishna is capable of that. And you also see in Tukaram Maharaj's pastimes, Krishna makes up for his absorption by providing him ample amount of grains, food for his family. So this is very much possible, but if you do it artificially, if you're not Krishna conscious, that will lead to degradation, right? So there are three levels of work. One is physical, which body needs to work. Social, for maintaining social order. And spiritual, which is our Krishna consciousness, which is our work as a devotional offering. So our actual position, actual prescribed occupational duty is Krishna consciousness. But we need to dovetail in that in our family duty as well as society duties. Right? I cannot say I'm going to do a murder and then I will go to jail and I can be Krishna conscious there, no problem. No, I'll go to jail whole year life. I need not work, or I can commit some crime which is I can be alive whole life, but in jail. But that is not Krishna consciousness. No, we cannot escape. That will not please Krishna at all. Right? So the progressive development from forced work to dutiful work to devotional work. This is Krishna consciousness. So we can also understand this by a metaphor from Shastra. Uh, bees, honeybees, right? They collect honey from the forest flowers, right? What do? They go to each flower, they sit, they peacefully extract the nectar and take only how much is needed and they go on to the next flower. Right? And like that, they make a profuse amount of honey. Right? And they do not harm the flower at all. The honey bee does not harm the flower at all. In fact, all that we are eating, all the food we are able to grow is because the honeybee is able to also, while extracting the nectar, is also transferring the pollen and then leading to the fertilization of the plants. That's also what the honeybee is doing. In fact, the studies, if the honeybees die off, then there'll be total famine and starvation. So this is the metaphor of the honeybee. So the devotee has to be a honeybee. We have to work without exploitation. We have to take only necessities which serve the Lord's purpose. And we have to not harm anybody. We have to work in this way, like a honeybee. So who did that? Who was able to do this? Arjuna. He wanted to renounce his duties. He thought inaction was better. He was confused about the dharma. But he continued to fight without attachment and fight in service to Krishna. He performed his duties perfectly and maintained his Krishna consciousness and achieved his success. Right? Both in the war of Kurukshetra as well as in this devotional service. He was totally dependent on Krishna. He remained dependent. Completely under the as a follower of Krishna. All right. So how do we follow in our life? So of course the devotional service is the same.
Hare Krishna.
So the take home in terms of our daily activities, in terms of following the process of Krishna consciousness, is the very same. However, we have to get the balance in life. We have to achieve some balance in life so that we are able to do devotional service properly. That means we have to do all our work properly, and we have to have service attitude in relationships, which is simple living, high thinking. What is service attitude in relationships? So, yeah, so example, say, let's take an example from Grahastha life. Husband, if he thinks that the wife should always serve me, that is true. The wife's duty is to serve the husband. But if the husband thinks that why is she not serving me properly, that would lead to some disbalance in your service attitude, right? What the husband needs to think is, I must serve. I must serve the wife. I must serve my children. So that will lead to a better balance. Similarly, in any duty you execute, we must bring this service attitude amongst our relationships, right? So also what we have to do is we have to dovetail our services according to our Varna and Ashram. Though sometimes it's difficult to do. For example, traditionally housewife doesn't need to go out and work. Now, of course, there are so many devotees, devotional service who may be working in the outside world. So that is as per time, place, and circumstance. If they do need to work, that is permissible. But still, as far as possible, we have to understand whatever Varna and Ashram is and try to follow it. And that is only possible if everybody around us is accommodating to us. Accommodating. So basically, you have to get in the right situation. And once in the right situation, the situation will support you. How is that possible? By surrendering to Krishna. If somebody feels they are in not a right situation in life, are not able to practice this properly, there is no loss, because as long as you are Krishna conscious and as long as you try to follow the principles of this Krishna of this Varnashram while being Krishna conscious, that is sufficient. Right? So we should try to follow the scriptural guidelines is, and look at our natural qualities as per Varnashram and told by Krishna consciousness. That should be enough. Now everybody has a different situation, and guidance is very necessary in this case. So if somebody is facing a confusion about what they need to do and how, it's suggested that they take guidance of the senior Vaishnavas around this, because everybody will have a specific situation around. So what are the warning signs if somebody is having difficulties? Say somebody is having avoiding my responsibilities. I said I cannot do this. I'm making excuses. So now I'm not able to do my duties. So I will take renunciation, and I will describe. I will neglect my prescribed duties. So those are warning signs. If you feel that you're not able to do your duties and you want to run away from the duties, that is artificial renunciation. That is not what Krishna is expecting or recommending or needing. That is from this verse, right? So that's the take home from this verse is perform your prescribed duties while maintaining Krishna consciousness rather than artificially renouncing work. Success comes through proper execution of duties with detachment and devotional attitude. Success comes through proper execution of duties with detachment and devotional attitude. So that's the take home from this verse. I think can move on now. How much time do we have? Oh, we are out of time.
We have 15 20 minutes.
Okay, fine. We can finish 3.9. We can project 3.9 on the screen. That verse should be projected. Can click on that. Yeah, let's see. Go. Okay, so reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 9. Yagyarthat karmanonyartha loko. Sorry, Prabhu. Sorry, Prabhu. Yagyarthat karmanonyartha lo- ah, Yagnarthat karmanonyartha lokon yam karma bandhanaha तदर्थम कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्त संगः समाचर यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणोऽन्यत्र लोको यम कर्म बन्धनः तदर्थम कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्त संगः समाचर. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way, you'll always remain free from bondage. Since one has to work even for the simple maintenance of the body, the prescribed duties for a particular social position and quality are so made that that purpose can be fulfilled. Yagna means Lord Vishnu or sacrificial performances. All sacrificial performances also are meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. The Vedas enjoin Yagno Vai Vishnu. In other words, the same purpose is served whether one performs prescribed yagnas or directly serves Lord Vishnu. Krishna consciousness is therefore performance of yagna as it is prescribed in this verse. The Varnashram institution also aims at satisfying Lord Vishnu. Varna Varnashrama Achara Vata Varnashtama cha aravata Purushena para Puman Vishnu Vishnur Aradhyate. Vishnu Puran 388. Therefore, one has to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Any other work done in this material world will be a cause of bondage. For both good and evil works have their reactions, and any reaction binds the performer. Therefore, one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu, and while performing such activities, one is in a liberated stage. This is a great work of doing work, and in the beginning, this process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore act very diligently under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna, or under the direct instruction of Lord Krishna himself, and under whom Arjuna had the opportunity to work. Nothing should be performed for self gratification, but everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from the reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to the transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God. Reading the translation again, work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in this way you will always remain free from bondage. Okay, so we'll also again try to analyze this verse to understand it, discuss it by taking an example from Shastra. Um, so from Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the example of Dhruv Maharaj. Dhruv Maharaj was sitting on his father's lap, was trying to sit on his father's lap, but his stepmother, Suruchi, she banished him from the lap of his father and told him that he would have to take birth from her womb. Before he's able to do that, so Dhruv Maharaj felt very bad and he left his father's kingdom. Um, he said, I will go to the forest and do tapasya. This tapasya he wanted to do was for material gain. He wanted to gain a kingdom greater than his father. So initially he started his tapasya from the idea of material gain. But what happened was Narad Muni directed his service to Lord Vishnu by giving him the mantra of Vishnu. Which mantra was given? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Dhruv Maharaj did austerities. But these austerities were dovetailed as a service to Vishnu because he was actually trying to please Vishnu. So he performed the same activities, the austerities were the same, but they were dovetailed in Vishnu's seva. So, but that changed his consciousness. So he achieved both material and spiritual success. As soon as he was able to be successful in his spiritual endeavor, which means he got the darshan of Lord Vishnu, he did not want to pursue the material goal he had started with, which is the kingdom greater than his father. But he got that anyway. So what we understand is that we have to dovetail all our activities in Krishna consciousness. Now it's up to Krishna. He may satisfy our material needs or he may not. Of course he will, but it's not our goal that we get sense gratification or we amass great riches. But the goal is devotional service. But as a side effect, Krishna will take care of us anyway. So finally, Dhruv Maharaj also rejected the material benefits for pure devotion. So ultimately, we need to practice devotional service and reject any side effects. But how do we understand that our work is actually devotional service or is just karma? So there are three kinds of work: karma, vikarma, and akarma. Karma is work for material results. Vikarma is forbidden activities. So if everybody outside and everybody in general is working for karma, for material results. I am studying so that I pass my examination. I'm working so I get money. Right? I'm serving uh, my wife so that I get something in return. The wife is serving the husband, taking care of the children, so that you get something in return. But how do we understand now the difference then between this karma and Devotional service. So there is karma. What is vikarma? Forbidden activities. What kind of activities are forbidden? No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. So these are forbidden activities. So you have to not do them at all. Right? This is completely sinful. And what is akarma? Working in devotion in a non-binding way. So karma binds us completely to material energy, material life. Vikarma is completely forbidden. Akarma or devotional service is how we need to work. So we have to dovetail all our activities in Krishna consciousness. And then our karma will become a karma. That's what needs to happen. Why? Needs to happen because there's a law of karma. What is the law of karma? Anybody can tell me? There's a law of physics is there, na? Law of physics in physics we have learned. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And everybody in 8th standard of physics, everybody in school has learned that. Unfortunately, what we know from physics, even though that is true for every sphere of existence, we don't understand that. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That is not from Shastra, that is from Newton's law of inertia. But it is true. So everything in material you do finds us with reactions, and we are caught up in this material world through eons and eons, billions of years in various species of life. And we came to the human form of life. In this human form of life, we have been given this intelligence that we can follow devotional service, and that will free us from this reactions, this binding, be completely free. Where will your freedom take us? Suppose you become free from this material energy, where will it take us? Higher planets. That is the material energy. Golok Vrindavan. Okay, fine. Where else? Material energy. We can be in the service. We can be. The devotee doesn't care if he's in the material energy, in the material world. The devotee is engaged in devotional service. So the service to Vishnu or to Krishna is what's the most important thing. Now for the devotee can accept a form of liberation, which is also involving service to Krishna. And anything which does not involve service to Krishna is not what the devotees will accept. So what are the kinds of liberation possible which a devotee will accept? Right. To be on the same planet as Krishna, which is Golok Vrindavan, right? Same bodily features as Krishna. That is same planet. Okay. Same opulence, same appearance. There are four liberations. There are five. One is merging into the absolute, into the form of the Lord or to the Brahma Jyoti. These devotees will not accept. The other four is what Krishna devotees accept, which is living on the same planet as the Lord, having the same form as the Lord, having the same opulence as the Lord, and there's one more, which with companion. So this is what we accept, but it is not an essential part of devotional service, because we can be devotional right now. We can be completely Krishna conscious right now where we are. Completely Krishna conscious. And that is what this process of Krishna conscious gives us. An opportunity to be Krishna conscious right now. Right? So how do we achieve it? Now, we discussed earlier about karma and akarma. We have to transform all our karma to akarma. Same action, different consciousness. Right? Acting in Krishna consciousness, offering the result to Krishna will free us from karmic bondage. But then we have to be very careful. I cannot just say whimsically, I'm being Krishna conscious. This karma is now akarma. No, that has to be done very consciously. All your actions have to be completely conscious of Krishna. Each and every action has to be Krishna conscious. Then you can be free from the bondage. You have to practice Krishna consciousness very methodically, very purely. So how do you do that? How? How do you work for Krishna without being affected by the material nature, without it polluting you, without leading to reaction? How will that happen? So we understand how that is possible by a metaphor from Srimad Bhagavatam. Water touches the lotus feet, but the leaf does not get wet. Water touches the lotus feet, but the feet does not get wet. Similarly, karma doesn't affect one who works for Vishnu. Remaining detached despite being in contact. Remaining detached despite being in contact. Natural protection through devotional attitude. Right? As long as we are completely Krishna conscious and act in a detached way, then the material nature will not affect us. And we have to slowly transform all our karma to akarma. And this is really possible. How? Do we have an example from Shastra of somebody who has done that? Again, we don't have to look far. We look at Arjuna's brothers and Arjuna himself, the Pandavas. Right? They were completely Krishna conscious. They were completely dependent on Krishna. They ruled kingdoms, fought battles, and did massive administration. But everything was done for Krishna and in consultation with Krishna, and they offered all the results to Krishna. What were the results? The kingdom prospered, people were happy, and they achieved spiritual perfection. So they were perfectly Krishna conscious, and they are perfect karma yogis. We have to aspire for them, like them, right? And how do we do that? How do we do that practically? What is the practical example? How do we do that in our lives? Now we have the metaphor from Bhagavatam that we need to be like the lotus leaf. The water won't touch us. And we have the example of the Pandavas. But we can say that Pandavas are very exalted. I cannot be like the Pandavas. But we have to follow in their footsteps. How? So of course the devotional services will remain the same. Like the recommendation around honoring prasadam, associating with devotees, offering the aartis, and doing the nam jap, and following the four regulative principles. That of course we have to do. And of course we have to do in the modern age the sacrifice of the Sankirtan Yagya, book distribution, prasadam distribution. So this will help to dovetail each and every our activities according to that. So if we say take a vow that or set aside some time that 2 hours per day or 1 hour per day, I'm going to do nam jap. Another hour per day, I'm going to do book distribution. Another hour, I'm going to read the books. So much of that time is now Krishna conscious directly. Now, less of the time remains to do other activities. Yes, but now we have become more efficient because now we'll do the other activities more efficiently. And by doing this direct Krishna conscious activities, you will have gained the consciousness to do those activities which could have become karma into akarma, because now you will think constantly how to do more of that. So, for example, if I do book distribution for 1 hour and now I'm traveling in the bus, now I have some books with me, so I can do more book distribution on the way. So, what could have been just mundane karma of just dragging myself in the bus, I can actually do some devotional service that time. Like that, each and every conversation, we can dovetail in Krishna's service, direct and indirect service. And Krishna will guide us from within how to make that happen. So what should be the work ethics of a person who's Krishna conscious? So if some of us are working, say, in the outside world, but we have to be honest. Honesty, we have to be honest. We have to give very high quality service, high quality work. We have to have a service attitude, and we have to behave in a non-exploitative way. This will help. I cannot have the karmi mentality where I'll try to exploit people around me. I must do my work with honesty. I must maintain very high quality in my work. I must still have the service attitude that I must serve and do this work properly. And I must not exploit anybody. So this is something which will help us transform karma to a karma. So how do we do that? So you start the day with morning prayers, set the proper intention of working. What do you want? Plan the whole work for the whole day. Plan the work with proper intention, with proper service intention, and then execute it throughout the day. Right? So that orientation you must do every morning after the morning prayers. Right? During the work, what do? We must periodically remember Krishna. We must maintain our Krishna consciousness, not be carried over by people around us. People around us may not be Krishna conscious, but we must maintain our Krishna consciousness, and we must avoid unnecessary conversations in the workplace. Right? So what we have done, we have done proper intention in the morning. Intention, planning and intention. We have done that in the morning. During the work, we have remembered Krishna periodically, and then we have avoided unnecessary activities like conversations which are not necessary. So, and at the end of the day, we have offered those results to Krishna. And then self-examination and planning for improvement. What did I do wrong? I have probably done some karma today. I have not been Krishna conscious completely. So those things I must note, and next day I will not repeat that. So I'll then practice being Krishna conscious throughout the day, right? By offering the results, self-examination, and planning the improvement. Right? So the conclusion of this verse is that the secret of work in Krishna consciousness is revealed. We have to perform all our activities as a sacrifice for Vishnu's satisfaction. If we do all our work for Vishnu's satisfaction, then we achieve both material spirituality, material advancement, and spiritual perfection. And we also become free from all karmic reactions. This is really possible. This is what Srila Prabhupada has promised us in the Bhagavad Gita. And this is something we have to take up very seriously. Go on. How much time do we have? Yeah, time. I have some more graphics to discuss.
5, 6 minutes we have. This one, Prabhu?
Yeah, this is something we can discuss. So this is the 4 states of execution. It's related to the verse we are discussing, so I'm discussing it. So we have a physical body, we have the mind, we have the intelligence, and we have the soul. Right? So this pyramid, the base level represents the physical body or the physical quotient. So physical quotient means you have to be physically fit, and health and well-being you have to take care of. Emotional quotient is you take care of your emotions, self-care, empathy for, and interpersonal skills with everybody else. That's your EQ. So your physical Q, emotional Q is your emotional quotient, and IQ is your intelligence quotient, which everybody is familiar with, and everybody cares about only IQ. Right? You have all these competitive exams. Try to get you into say MBBS or engineering, and all they're trying to test is your IQ. And then you have spiritual IQ, spiritual Q, spiritual quotient, which is your ability to connect with Krishna consciousness. Right? So it's a pyramid. But what's happening is we are neglecting our spiritual quotient. We are acting very emotionally. And if we act emotionally, what happens is our senses will control us. Our mind will be controlled by the senses. The senses are attached to the sense objects. So we'll be completely driven away and not be able to achieve anything in our life. So we need to control our mind by intelligence. And how do we do that? So no, that one. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So if your mind is ruling your intelligence, that's not the goal of the Bhagavad Gita, right? So the intelligence should rule over your mind. So by practicing Karma Yoga, which is the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, turn this in such a way. So right now your intelligence is being ruled by the mind. You need to turn the circles, these 4 things, current arrangement or hypothetical arrangement into this so that the intelligence is now controlling the mind. Right? Now, once the intelligence controls the mind, then you will achieve all success in your life. Otherwise, you will be completely driven and you will not achieve anything. Right? Neither material nor spiritual, nothing can be achieved. So, first, we must control the mind by the intelligence. And the intelligence must be controlled by the soul. So now you need to turn this another time. So you turn it once. Bhagavad Gita, first 6 chapters, you can turn it once. Next 6 chapters, you can turn it again so that the soul will be on the top, right? And the next 6 chapters, you retain the soul on top. Because if you just stop there, again you turn it, then the soul will again go down. So you must turn this once and turn it once more. And that's it. And let it remain there. That is the goal of the Bhagavad Gita. So that is what I'm saying here.
Interesting.
Okay, so that is just to understand that we need to control our mind, right? Yeah, I have one more slide, but a few more slides to illustrate. There are some graphics you can go over quickly. Yeah, go on. Yeah. So what is Karma Yoga? This is a graphical representation of Karma Yoga. So we understood some of it. So the results we are offering to Krishna. So there's a divine connection, service to Krishna. So all these are aspects of Krishna consciousness. Karma Yoga is direct Krishna consciousness, is direct service to Krishna. But it involves doing all our duties, social responsibilities, duties to family, prescribed duties. It involves sense control. Everything it is dovetailed into the divine connection, into service to Krishna, ultimately. So that's what it is. And so we're out of time, but we can go through there are 2 slides again. More. There's 2 more slides.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. So work done as a sacrifice leads to freedom. Work done as a sacrifice leads to freedom. With the spirit of Krishna consciousness and leads to liberation. Work done for the self leads to bondage. Work done for the self in material consciousness leads to bondage and continued cycle of birth and death. Work as a sacrifice in Krishna consciousness leads to freedom and liberation. That's what it says. Go on. Okay. So this is a sequence chart inspired by software technology, but it is about sequence. There are actors, like 4 actors, an individual, prescribed beauty, sacrifice, and Krishna. So an individual performs of prescribed beauty, converts it into a sacrifice, and offers it to Krishna. And Krishna bestows the liberation, and this is the cycle of perfect action. So this is what Karma Yoga, an attempt to show what Karma Yoga can be. It's much more than that. I hope we are able to understand it, but you have to meditate deeply to understand what Karma Yoga is. But this is just a very simplistic, picturistic way to understand it. Right? Right. So with that, we have come to the end of our current discussion, and I'm happy to. If there are any questions about it, I'm happy to try to answer. Prabhuji can answer.
I don't have any question, Prabhu. Just one comment. Like I think I read it somewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam only, or Bhagavad Gita only. I guess I followed it. But what it also said, actually, in the context of what we were discussing today, what it says was that we should engage our senses in doing the work, also for the purification of its own senses. So one is of course is duty for us that we should do and then we evolve, but then it's also for the purification of the senses so that we can advance. I think that yeah.
So, like I said, you can go back to that graphic. No, that pyramid. So there is a physical body, which is your say senses. EQ is the mind, IQ is the intelligence, and SQ is your soul. So there's a mind, body, intelligence, and soul. So you need to, in Krishna consciousness, you have to engage all of these. So you have to start from the mind, intelligence, the body, mind, and intelligence. You have to engage completely in Krishna consciousness. So when you engage them, then only they can become purified. So how you engage the senses in Krishna consciousness? Like we discussed Amrish Maharaj. So that's directly he engaged the senses, the nose in smelling the flowers offered to Krishna, the ears in hearing Krishna Katha, the eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, and all the senses like that. So he engaged completely in Krishna consciousness. So that Krishna, that is what the essence is. You have to engage all your senses in Krishna consciousness so that they are purified. Once they are purified, then they will act according to the intelligence. Otherwise, they will be completely controlled by the mind. You have to control the mind. The mind has to control the senses, but everything has to be controlled by your connection to Krishna. So once your Krishna is at the top, the modes of material nature at the bottom, right? What are the modes of material nature? Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. What are they? So they'll completely drive us. They lead to the root causes of our action in the material life, in the material world. That means if you see something, say, very tasty, say one gulab jamun, that is not offered to Krishna, okay? Bhoga. Now you want to eat it. Your tongue wants to eat it. Or the tongue is very attracted, wants to eat it. That means now your mind is controlled by the sense object, taste, tongue. And now you will get the reaction. What will be the reaction? All the karma in which that gulab jamun was made. Why? It was made by somebody, XYZ person. What was he thinking? What was he doing? What was his consciousness? All of that will become something which comes into you. So then at that action, we have not engaged in Krishna, not engaged our senses in Krishna consciousness. Yes, bro. But on the other hand, if you have prasadam, you offered it to Krishna, then you have engaged that tongue in Krishna consciousness. Because now the tongue is serving Krishna. Because why? The prasadam is not different from Krishna. Now you're serving the Krishna. So now the connection, the pyramid of the top, now everything will be sorted. Now you're connected to Krishna. Now he'll control you. Once we are controlled by Krishna, we are serving Krishna, that's Krishna consciousness. If you're controlled by material nature at the bottom, then everything will go for a toss. So we have to engage each and every sense in Krishna consciousness. Does that help?
Yes.
Any other questions? Do you have any questions?
Sometimes in our life, we are unable to engage the way as Amrish Maharaj is doing direct service, like smelling flowers offered to Krishna or Tulsi offered to Krishna or doing deity worship. Situations in our life are like that, that we are doing something else. We are bound to do something else, which how to relate that Krishna consciousness. Sometimes our material duties are like so difficult that we are unable to go to temple or we are unable to uh, do something direct service to Krishna. But still we have to do this God situation we are in. We have to face it and we have to do it. Now, how to connect it to Krishna as a devotional service?
So while Arjuna, he was fighting a battle. So he is trying to kill his grandsire, his gurus, his brothers, and his younger ones also, like children of his cousins, and all those things. Now, of course, if we understand that is very difficult, and that was his dilemma also. So the Bhagavad Gita is presented in a way in the situation where Arjun's dilemma is completely relatable. Because his dilemma is really real. Because he has no wish to killing, this bloodshed, this warfare. Yet Krishna tells him that this is Krishna consciousness and do it. Why is it Krishna consciousness? Of course, he has the fortune of being directly ordered by Krishna. So somebody may say Arjuna was directly ordered by Krishna. So even those duties were difficult, he was able to do it because Krishna showed him the universal form. Krishna has told him the entire Bhagavad Gita now, and he was able to do. Right? It is very difficult, but it is very difficult. So what is the answer to that? Our material duties are difficult, yet they can be Krishna conscious. They can be karma yoga. Yes, they do not need to be karma. Right? Now, the question has two aspects to it. You are not engaging your senses in Krishna consciousness. You still need to be Krishna conscious. Right? You engaging your senses in direct Krishna consciousness, if you are able to do that, of course, control the senses directly. But you have to locate that in the light of your varnashram duties. Right? While doing your varnashram duties, then also you have to engage your mind in Krishna consciousness. Your mind is the most powerful sense. You have to engage that in Krishna. Once you are able to do that, so Arjuna was able to engage in his mind in the orders of Krishna. And what he's asking us to do now is to engage our mind in our varnashram duties. And once you're able to do that, then that is Krishna consciousness. That has to be done with the proper spirit. The action is the same. Karma and vikarma, the action is going to be same. But in what consciousness you do it, that is Krishna consciousness. That mind, control of the mind in this way, mind is the most powerful sense. You have to control the mind in this way, engaging it in Krishna consciousness. That will help, I think. Was that your question? I'm not. Does that?
How we come to know that what Krishna?
That's the second part. Yeah, how do we come to know that this is what Krishna wants for us? So as long as we have our sadhana done properly, then we are guided by Sadhu Shastra and Vaishnava, and the Paramatma within. Our Paramatma within will guide us. Definitely, when we have a proper sadhana, we are connected to Krishna, and he will definitely guide us from within, by the agency of the Guru, Vaishnava, Sadhu, and directly from within, that this is what we need to do. So we have to be completely guided by Krishna. It's not that Krishna was at the battlefield of Kurukshetra and is absent right now. Krishna is present fully in the Bhagavad Gita instructions and within us as Paramatma. He is present in the Vaishnavas who can guide us. He is present in our Guru Maharaj. He is present definitely and completely. So we do have to guide us.
Krishna. So very nice lecture, bro. Very good. So basically, we have got two dharmas to perform. One is Bhautik Dharma and Adhyatmik Dharma. So Bhautik Dharma is Varnashrama Dharma. What Arjuna was doing, as Kshatriya, Brahmana, Vaishya. These are Bhautik Dharma. We have to do that. And this is what Arjuna is expressing in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, all about Varnashrama Dharma. And the other one is Adhyatmik Dharma. That is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, who am I? What is this nature? What is Krishna? Who is Krishna? And the relationship with understanding. So this is Adhyatmik Dharma. And when we do, first to go to Adhyatmik Dharma, the person has to fulfill his Bhautik Dharma. A person who is not following Bhautik Dharma, like Brahmanas, he has to do Brahmanical activities, Kshatriya has to perform his Kshatriya activity. A person does not form the basic Bhautik Dharma, he will not be able to understand Adhyatmik Dharma. Krishna is very clear on that. a person, say, who is not fulfilling his basic material activities, etc., he will not find it easy to understand Adhyatmik. So that's why you can see in the first chapter, we can read first chapter, last sloka. You can take it. The very important thing there is that I'll read only the purpose in that. Shloka goes like this one. Eva Mukta Arjuna Sankye Ratopaspa Visitya Shasam Chapam Shoka Sambhigna Manasa. So here, Prabhupada writes in the purport, while observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrow. So from last statement that he made is a very, very important thing you must understand. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive transcendental knowledge. Only such a person who follows all these particular things that is described in the first chapter, he only can receive transcendental knowledge. And that means a person who all of us sitting or whoever is hearing, he must be already performing the basic means our material obligations. When we understand this, then do devotional service, and that is the perfection. So to receive perfection, must be doing all these things, this karma yoga, jnana yoga. The person cannot do directly, it's possible in the exceptional cases where he gives directly the mercy of King Lord on through his Guru. Adhyatmic is most important and one should do it. But if there are Adhyatmic, Guru will not teach you anything about the material activities. He will teach you spiritual activities. The person who does spiritual activities, he will be able to understand what Krishna wants us to do. Next.